Hey everyone, welcome to Survivor Now podcast. Today, Nina and I are joined. I'm excited to talk to Viola, but I'm also kind of disappointed. But Viola, we are so happy to have you on our show. Okay, 6 castaway eliminated from Survivor Australia, Titans vs. Rebels. Viola, let's go back in time. You were a big part of the ad campaigns. What is it like to finally see it all play out on television?
Oh my days. When I saw myself being like huge in promotions, I was like, what are you not doing? Don't you know I get out like sick person? Like, why are you promoting me so hard? And then because I didn't think I would be promoted to to that extent. So now that I'm seeing the gameplay play out and I'm seeing the integral role that I played in the entire storyline, I'm like, I get it, I get it, I get it. And even seeing how my vote turned out and how heated it was, I was like, oh, well, damn, I didn't know that going in. And so it's phenomenal to watch. Like, even though I knew it was going to happen, I was watching it and I was like on the edge of my seat, like, no, stop it. What? Huh? So it was a great episode to watch. I think to go out the way I did, it sucks, but at the same time, I think it's phenomenal gameplay. I have nothing but respect for that.
I appreciate your outlook on that. And even with the huge promotional campaign that you had going out there, such a huge opportunity. I like to know, as a former player, what's something that you take away from the game, whether it's a person, a moment, whether you're looking at the stars or you're having a conversation. What's that one thing when you look back on Survivor, you're just like, man, that was my favorite thing, person, conversation, whatever it may be?
Yeah, so I think it wasn't even a particular person. I think it was multiple conversations I had with other people. I think at the age that I was put in a situation where I would probably never have that kind of experience. I would never, have a chat with a diplomat. I'd never have a chat with a Russian that fight wars, but it's also very successful outside of this, I'd never be sleeping next to a guy that has 1 million followers on TikTok. Like, I had so much access to so many different people with a wealth of knowledge, of experience that I'm like, bro, I think I aged 10 years on that show. Hey, I think I have a lot of wisdom now in terms of people, in terms of life, and as well as in terms of what people are like when their backs are against the wall, and how much you really have to back yourself. If you feel something's wrong, go for it. Go for it. Don't second guess for it. Go for it. So I think that is something I took away, and I'm seeing it play out in my day to day. I feel so much more confident and aware of things going on these days.
I like that.
Yeah, it sounds like quite the transformation. I mean, speaking of some of the people that you were on the island with, I think a lot of fans were obsessed with your relationship with Valeria. Can you tell us, I mean, when did you two realize that it was time to start working together in the way that you did?
It was off the bat. That's my wife. Like, I told everyone, that is my wife, okay? Like, I knew pretty quickly, like, she was my wife. Because I think we were in a circle and she's telling the story of how she fought a wolf to protect her dog. And I was like, that is some badassery. That is so badass. And then the more I got to know her, it only took until like day 2 that I was like, you know what? I'm locked and loaded. I'm done. I found my person. Like, we can turn the show off. Survivor's finished. I found her. And I think I was so happy to have found someone that I was genuinely friends with. It was genuinely like a ride or die till the young type thing. And to get to know her throughout the game and see her gameplay and see it unravel as well. Like, last night, the girl became a cook. She never cooked that much in our tribe. But for the Rebels, she became a cook. I was like, good job. Good job. And so I think, like, I am also just as much all for the double V's. I think it's very genuine. I think it really came across. And I think she's a phenomenal player. And I think definitely, if I was in her position, I would avenge straight away. I think she would probably do the same.
Was it just as quick with Mark, too, that relationship?
Yeah. So Mark is also in that. So Mark, I realized from early on, like, that Mark scared the hell out of me, right? Because he's so sweet. He has a really happy face. He's super chill. He can connect with anyone over everything. But the guy's a diplomat. He's been in situations that not some of you could never even imagine, and he's had to do that with the level of coolness that you can't replicate, right? He's able to really smile at the same time have a long-term strategy that's ruthless. So straight away, I was like, I have to align myself with Mark because he's so incredibly strategic. But then what I didn't expect was the fact that I actually really liked Mark. Like, we actually got along really, really well. We actually had a genuinely really good friendship over some things that were very heartfelt. And like, I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, you're scary as hell, but like, you real as hell too. So I think early on we recognized between the three of us, we had a lot of characteristics and traits that we respected and saw within each other and ourselves that were so profound and really difficult to find that we just knew, okay, cool, us three. It's ride or die. It's us three.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely love that. And considering we're talking about them, you guys had that solid alliance. Also knowing that Mark had the middle-aged group, middle-aged mafia, I forgot what it was called already. Did you guys ever talk about actually coming together? I know Caroline kind of wasn't feeling you guys, was being really skeptical. Like, did you guys actually want to come together, or did you always kind of want to stay apart?
Yeah, so I knew long term it'd be better for us to come together, and I think Mark as well tried to be the glue between the two groups. He really tried to like form a large alliance between us seven. But what I realized was that it was still two separate alliances coming together. You know, it wasn't one big happy family. It was the middle-aged mafia and the two Vs. So being the fact that we were the two Vs, I knew that we were on the small end of that. So if we were to act out of line, they'd be quick to swear us in place. So myself and Val never felt fully comfortable in that, and we knew that long term that like it was going to go pretty rough. So what we were really focusing on was, okay, where does Mark play in all of this? Like, he's a chill person. He's on both ends. He's playing double agent right now, but we're always, back of our head, okay, cool. Mark's able to be really cool with everyone. So is he just being cool with us, and is he actually really with them, or is he being cool with them but he's really chill with us? So I think there was always that level of, okay, just in case, Mark, what's happening, just in case. And I think there's also understanding as well, especially when Caroline started following me and Val around. It was like, okay, it's clear as day.
That was so funny, because I think what was so interesting to me as a viewer was seeing that it seemed like you were all very aware that Mark was sort of in the middle of these two alliances. And speaking of, I love that moment with you, Valeria, and Caroline, where you and Valeria were talking about how she would never leave you alone, only for her to enter into the conversation. So funny. And at one point, you and Mark sort of talked about, okay, maybe now is the correct time to get rid of Caroline. It was when you ended up voting out Nathan. But you talked to Jaden and Winna about trying to work with yourself and Mark to vote out Caroline. At what point did that plan get abandoned?
Yeah, so what they didn't show is that like me and Winna had a very close relationship. So it was very easy for me to put Caroline's name out, knowing that, he was cool with Jaden and Nathan. So I felt very safe in the fact that they were going to go along with that, especially given that at that point in the game, Caroline was running people off the wrong way. So I felt really, really confident in this plan. I'm like, yeah, sweet, this is a great plan. This is the perfect time. Caroline's it. And then somewhere along the line, someone talked and information got to Caroline that her name was on the chopping block. And it got communicated to me that information got to her. So at that point, I was like, oh my Lord, it is abort mission, abort. So I started, running around, trying to, have a chat with Caroline and being like, hey, listen, like, I understand that, like, your name was put out there, but just know that it wasn't put out there as an actual vote. It was a decoy vote, because obviously we can't tell Nathan we're voting for Nathan. So I had to put someone out there. Nathan already being the strong people in the game. So I'm like, that's why I put your name. So I figured he would throw you under the bus to some degree. So from then on, it was a bought mission. And from what I understood at that point, that like Caroline bought it, so she was all good. So from then on, it was like, okay, cool, Nathan, you gotta go. I'm sorry, buddy. Like, I tried.
Yeah. And then with this last episode, you guys had tribe swap, which was either going to be a huge advantage or a huge disadvantage. But, and I could be wrong, when I was watching it, I felt like you opened it, you thought it was still Titans, you pulled it out and went like, no. Am I correct? And if so, what was your thought process?
I wasn't even thinking. I was just reacting, right? Because in my head, I was like, at the Titan camp, we have the hammock. We have the tarp. Val's already there. On top of that, like, I want to make a lunch. I want to combine with Kirby and Raymond at some point. So I'm like, I also have potential alliance over there that I'm working on in the low key. So in my heart, I really wanted to be a Titan. So I believed it so much that by the time I pulled it, I don't know what the color I saw, because I thought I saw blue. I was so happy. And then once I realized it was pink, I was like, damn it. But then I was like, wait a minute, Viola, you can't react that badly. You're going to be going to that group right now. You better fix your face, sweetheart. So I was like, control yourself. But definitely I was gutted that I was separated from Val. I think with the cracks that I'm now recognizing, exist within the Rebels, I think definitely we could have cracked that.
Yeah.
Definitely would have done something with that. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Totally. With those tribe swaps, they can be tricky. And you sort of started answering this question a little bit in your last response, but was there anyone else from the original Rebels tribe that you were eager to sort of play with further in the game?
Yeah, so from that end, I was really keen on Kirby and Raymond. Like Raymond, I don't know what it is about him. Like we still haven't probably had a full conversation, but I just love the guy. He has he has a very lovable energy. Right? Like every time I'll be like, "Where's my baby Raymond? Are you guys picking on him? You stay away from Raymond."
I think he kind of looks like Seth Rogen.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And he was so quirky and lovable. Like he just triggered my mother instinct. I was like, no one touch Raymond. Protect him till the end. And then on the other end, I had so much respect for Kirby. I was like, she outsmarted me in the challenge. At the same time, she was a phenomenal challenge player, and she was really good at keeping her chill, calm demeanor at the challenges. So I was like, that is someone I could definitely work with. And I think we both kind of had that respect for each other because we just have a couple conversations in between challenges. So I think we understood that if we were to make it to merge, like whatever beef you got going on, I'll support it. Whatever beef I've got going on, I'll support it. So I think for my gameplay, it would have been amazing for me to have been on the Rebels tribe. I think, the closest of me, Val, and Winner, especially, and also my friendship with Charles, who I'm very, very friendly with. I think that could have caused some damage, but like the survivor gods were not. They didn't have my back that day.
Oh, it's always the worst when they don't have your back, but sometimes it's amazing. I do have a question though, being that you did end up on the new Rebels 2.0, you pitched to Mark like, dude, let's do Caroline, and he kind of shut it down. Was there more to the edit? Was it really just, I don't think it's the right time? Or was it maybe the numbers weren't right? You did actually pitch it and it didn't work out. Like, can you elaborate if there was anything else other than the edit showed?
Yeah, I think the conversation between myself and Mark were fairly accurate because I think it was along the lines of I wanted to make the move now because I felt as though, listen, the dynamic has just changed. If there's a time to make a move, the time is now. There's extra numbers and the alliances are clearly going to start becoming more clear. And I don't have Val to have my back. Like, I have Mark, but at the same time, Mark is in such a pretty position that Mark could go either way. And like, I was at a point where I was like, it really has to be now, Mark. But Mark is more of a long-term player where he doesn't want to shatter the ground before it's necessary. And I think in that scenario, if we had voted Caroline and it had not worked out, then that would have been terrible for his gameplay. Terrible. So I think it was a matter of figuring out when the right time was and being on the same page. And unfortunately, we just weren't able to do that.
And a reason that I wanted to ask you that was because they have a very clear moment on the beach where Kitty and Caroline pull the girls in a way that kind of looked a little sketchy, like they're all facing the same way, talking, and the guys are kind of behind them. I'm not sure where you were at that moment because they didn't just, show you in the shot. But how did that kind of make you guys feel? Was it more like, hey, we need to kind of watch this? Or was it more like, oh, they're just going over there to kind of keep the girls cool, make sure that they think they're okay? What was that kind of vibe around camp?
Yeah, so again, I think Kitty is a tremendous social player. So she's really able to form really quick connections. And then, you have Caroline as well, who's able to communicate really well. And I think because I did notice they're having, their little one-on-one conversations, but I think from my end, it did threaten me a little bit. But at the same time, I was like, that's also typical of them too. Their gameplay is typically to pull them apart, have common conversations and connect. So it wasn't something that was out of the usual for me. So I think next time, if I was to see something similar, I think definitely you just have to act on your intuition, right? I think it's really easy to forget that sometimes your gut instinct is correct. Sometimes you feel certain things and you see certain things and you make connections even without a proper reason. I think it's really easy to forget that in the game of Survivor. And I think if I was to ever come back, it would be, if I feel it, if I sense it, act.
Yeah.
Act.
Viola, at Tribal Council, there seemed to be an ongoing theme that it was brought up quite a lot. Like, you have to make a move now, otherwise it could be too late. Did you ever at any point feel like, this might be speaking directly to me? Or at what point did you sort of think, oh, this is not going my way?
Yeah. So the moment my name was read out, I was like, yeah. Damn it, I knew it. Because even with the words that were said by JLP, like this guy, it's really easy to think you know what's going to happen based on what he's saying, and it's really easy to read into it so much that you're like, okay, this means that, or like I'm being seated here, so that means this, that means that. But at the same time, I think what's really smart in there is that they switch it up. They switch it up so you never fully know what's going to happen. But I think looking back, definitely, I think there were a couple signs that were there. But I think for my end as well, I think I understood to some degree that Mark is a much bigger threat than I was. So I think if ever they were to make a big move, I think I foresaw them perhaps going for Mark because, I lack a lot of power without Mark. Okay. And on top of that, Mark is the one playing the double agents. I think there might have been like a personal feud in that sense. So I think I miscorrectly understood that their best move would be to take out Mark and then take me out and then pluck off rebels one by one. I didn't foresee them going in that order so soon, but yeah, very well played.
And I just want to make 2 points. Well, 1.1 question. I love the fact that when Caroline voted for you, she kind of called you a baby girl, and then you were like, the senior citizens. Like, I was like, oh, I can't wait for them to. Well, I watched it technically a day later, but I love that you did that because you obviously didn't know she called you baby girl. And I know it's just kind of a wordplay thing, not a big deal. But when you called them senior citizens, I was like, that was her little thing to go back. I loved it. Even my partner, we're watching it. He was like, oh, she got a senior citizen. I was like, period. But with that, I just want to say and kind of ask maybe your feelings, because I love the fact that you were like, you acknowledged, which a lot of people don't acknowledge, like, I was gunning for them. They were gunning for me. It was kind of tit for tat. They got me first, unfortunately. But you also respected it. Was that, I know that was your true thought because it did seem that way. Was that hard at that moment, or did you kind of say, no, I am at peace with it for the time being?
So I think in that moment, like I was in such shock that it would be very difficult for me to make a response. I think I could only speak from a place that was genuine because there's so much and yet so little going through your head. And I think my thought was like, damn, I didn't think I'd get out so soon. I'm heartbroken about that. But I think, damn, that was a good blindside. Like, much respect to the game. And I think my experience in the game was like, I never wanted to take anything personal, right? Yeah. I think we're in an experience where like you have to do what you have to do. So I think I never want anything to be personal. If I got annoyed at people, I think it's just within the context of I'm hungry, I'm starved, that kind of thing. Yeah. So I think, I meant everything that I said, like respect the player, respect the game, good job, like kudos to you. But I think even watching back and seeing, some of the things that Caroline said and seeing her facial expressions and seeing how like personal it felt for her, I was like, damn. I stand by my senior citizens comment.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that Nina brought up some of your one-liners, because I need to tell you, Viola, there has not been a day that has gone by since the ad campaign for Titans vs. Rebels that I have not said, not today, Rebels, not today. So thank you for leaving me with that. But I am curious to know, is there anything that you wish the viewers saw more of from your time in the game?
I can't even lie. Some of my confessionals were savage. It was so savage. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's a good thing they didn't show that. I think like there would be a few times where someone made a decision that I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, what's going on through your head? And like, even when I first, like my first impression of Val and my first impression of Mark was hilarious. Because I was like, this guy is wearing a suit to an island. He thinks he's on Bachelor. This girl is in booty shorts with a fluffy jacket. Like, you're on the wrong show, babe. So I was like, what kind of tribe am I in? And then it turns out those are my two closest allies. I was like, yeah. I wish they showed that because it was like the biggest full circle.
Then you're like, oh my God, I'm in love. And they're like,
yeah. You know what? That fluffy jacket is iconic. You know what? That diplomacy, it works for you. It works for you.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to try it on?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we tried on the fluffy jacket. I tried on the blazer. And you know what? I get it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Go ahead. Sorry. The last thing I want to say is obviously you were a huge part of the promotion. Physically amazing. My mom, myself, and my partner watched the first kind of, trailer to the season, and I'm like, thank God she wasn't on any of mine. And if you were, I would want you on my tribe, because I'm like, you go up against people, and no matter what, just personally, I get really nervous at challenges. You can't really help it. But when you're looking at somebody with a physique like yours, I'd be like, okay, like how can I do like defense and all that? So I just want to give props to your performance in the challenges, because that was amazing. And to see a very physically strong woman, but you have so much grace and this personality that I really, as a viewer, I was just like, I love her personality. Like it just works really, really well and gets portrayed, I feel, really well in the edit that you did get, which I wish was much, much longer. But it was amazing for the time that you were there.
Thank you so much. Like I feel so honored. I think like I don't really, I'm not aware of how I look most of the time, because I'm in the sporty 24/7. And I think to hear comments like yourself, you're like, whoa, like that was phenomenal to see a strong player. Or other people say, I'm inspired, or like, you know what, I stopped eating my burger once I saw Viola on TV. like I think to have that kind of impact on people, I'm like, that's I feel honored. I feel honored if I can inspire you to live a healthier life. Hell yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
I'm really happy about that.
I was walking on my walking pad watching the show. I work from home, so I'm like watching and listening, doing my job. Then I'm like, you know what? Let me get my walking pad out.
Oh, it's so funny, because I remember when I got off, I was like, I had the abs. I remember I got home and like I went to my roommates and I just pulled my pants down. I'm like, guys, look. I turned around and they're like, Viola, I knew that could happen. My booty was flat. It was flat. So I'm like, I'm so happy everyone saw the abs, because the backside was lacking. It was
I love that.
Viola, we have to wrap up here in just a second, but it was an absolute pleasure watching you on the season, talking to you today. But I do have to know, you get the call again. Are you going back?
What do you think?
Yes.
I am
Absolutely.
going back. Absolutely. I have so much unfinished business, and I think so much of my gameplay wasn't shown. I think the best parts of my personality was shown, but I think the more ruthless parts definitely didn't come to fruition. I think there's a lot of unfinished business that needs to happen. So if I was to go back, with anyone, well, that'd be interesting.
Well, if I ever go back, I hope we're on the same tribe. Just saying.
Heck yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I would love to see both of your stories continue, but I want to thank you so much again for being here with us. Thank you all again for watching. Make sure you leave a comment. Let us know what your favorite Viola moment was of the season. We're going to end it here, but make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can get more Survivor Australia coverage.
Yay! Lovely